All right, man, peace. So now this is going to be part two on the NFL protest, the continuing saga that was brought to us by Colin Kaepernick, the plant, the plant of discord that was sent in by Ness Nitty and the Black Lesbians Matter movement under the strict instructions of George Soros. It's been ratcheted up with that nut job, allegedly that nut job Michael Bennett, and a lot of these other guys who really don't know what the hell they're doing. But anyway, when we left off, Michael Smith was in the midst of one of his liberal, nonsensical soliloquies. Let's see what else he has to say. Of course, I'm going to chime in.
If you're really going to align yourself with this, if you're really going to say we're here to help you with this fight, you're going to make enemies.
I still think that even with those set of things that they're potentially going to be talking about at this meeting, there's a couple of things that it doesn't address.
Okay.
Number one, we have to go back to the tone. Mm-hmm. The tone of you all need to stand. You all could be punished for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's called business practice. When you go into a workplace, just like how, Miss, you're in the workplace where you're at, you feel like you had to go there with a weave on your head and dressed in a certain way. It's called decorum. When you work for a corporation, they establish certain rules and certain bylaws that you must adhere to. There's a reason why you're not there right now with a pair of Daisy Duke shorts on and high heels, like how you would be on a Friday night when you're trying to get smashed.
Oh, yeah.
And where, even superseding that, where does that start from? Because first and foremost, we talked about this on NFL Live, they are men.
Yes.
You have to deal with that aspect first because there's a sting with that that's not going away. You know that.
Oh, man. Imagine the irony of a liberal black woman on TV trying to talk about how to treat a man according to his manhood. Oh, boy. I tell you, boy, this stuff is comedy. Since when does the liberal black woman have the foggiest idea how to speak to or treat a man respectfully or acknowledges or respects manhood? Since when?
You know that, right? So you have to deal with that. The second part of this is that this is dealing with stuff off of the field. It still is not dealing with their right to do this as men and as players if they want to. Now, obviously...
No, man. There's nowhere in life that you could do the things that you want to do. We do the things that either we're allowed to do or that we feel compelled to do, and we don't really care about the consequences, or the consequences are not going to impact us in a detrimental way. That's called civilization. In an anarchic environment, in an environment that's totally chaotic, then you could do whatever. All right, that's called a frenzy. That's called an orgy. Okay. Once again, the woman is an agent of chaos. They promote chaos and they love chaos. This woman does not believe, or actually, she doesn't really believe most of the things that she's espousing right now. She's just talking. She just wants to jump in on a chaotic conversation, a topic of discord. She's utilizing her racialist alter ego right now. Like I tell you, brothers, the liberal black woman has three alter egos, which is racialist, globalist, and feminist. The feminist is the main alter ego. Right now, she's chiming in with the racialist aspect. That's why she's acting as if she cares about how black men are regarded in regards to their manhood. Believe me, if she really was that concerned about black men's manhood, she'd be married right now. She's not married because she does not care about men's manhood. Believe me, that's the least of her concerns. If the topic was going to be shifted over to her and her conduct in regards to how she comports herself and her relationship issues, her relationship status, I guarantee you she would start to lambaste men, and particularly the black man, with the ferocity that has never been seen before.
There are workplace rules, but they still have the choice to go against that and yet suffer the consequence from that if they want to.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, of course. So then go ahead and kneel and watch what Jerry Jones do. Jerry Jones didn't say, look, if you kneel, you're going to get shot in your head. He said, don't kneel. Now, if you kneel, then you're just not going to play. It is what it is.
Correct.
That is a whole different thing that you still have to deal with on the individual level before you get to even all of that.
Right. I think that what you just said, deal with the consequences, because there could be possible consequences that come with your actions. But
no, there will be, sir. There will be consequences. Like I stated already, Donald Trump said what he said to bring all the rabbits out of their burrows. That's why he did what he did. He put a battery into the back of the woke movement because he's trying to eradicate this whole thing. He's trying to bring an end to it. Why is that? Because I'm sure that he's getting a lot of messages, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails from a lot of affluent friends of his, movers and shakers, billionaires per se, who are annoyed with what's going on in the NFL, and he wants to stop it. He's also most likely annoyed with it, so now he's communicating with the NFL owners. He leveled a shot at them. No, it prompted them to come out and utilize a show of force that has kind of blown up in their face. Their fans are starting to turn against them, and so are their sponsors. So now Trump has decided to communicate with Jerry Jones, use him as an intermediary to get his message out. This is why Trump has made the statements that he's made about the sanctions on the NFL in regards to their tax breaks. That is going to come to an end if certain things don't happen. Once again, I'm sure he's going to do the same thing to ESPN.
But at the same time, I think there has to be a partnership. And I heard Booger McFarland talking about it this morning on Mike and Mike, and he basically said, look, I mean, if the players are going to stand, the owners are going to have to bring it back too. They're going to have to reach out across the aisle on their side.
And not sincerely, just make your calls in your community,
and be able to handle the pressure
that's clean up in the hood,
and handle the pressures that's going to come their way,
right?
Because they've reached out all the branches.
But this is about reform and taking on the system.
Exactly.
You're going to make enemies in that system. You can't be friends with that in that system at the same time. But you.
Okay, so when is the black man going to stop being scared of changing the system? When is the black man going to stand up to the black woman and let him know that he's the leader and not her? When is he going to stand up and say, no, we're not going to tolerate faggots and lesbians in our community. We're not going to tolerate child molesters. We're not going to tolerate dudes selling drugs in these building lobbies and these hallways. Once again, the so-called affluent white man is not going to save you, Michael Smith. It's not going to save you. You can get on TV and you can bluster. I don't even believe he believes most of the bullshit he's saying right now. He's just trying to carry on the torch of his faithful leader, Jemele Hill.
What you're saying, Josina, is don't take that whole ownership thing too literal.
Right.
Don't take that ownership thing too literal. Because
Yeah.
if you really want to uprising and a revolt, challenge their manhood.
Yes.
Yeah, just like how they get challenged every 8 or 9 years with these collective bargaining agreements that they get their asses kicked every time. Look, right now they're really just trying to keep things smooth because it's almost like an argument. Like you see a couple that argue out in public. And the man is like, look, we'll talk about it when we get home. You know, right now, the NFL owners are trying to find a way to smooth this thing over with the players because it's too public and it's making them look bad. Most of the time, they talk to these guys like dog shit behind closed doors when they're, trying to collectively bargain the new, the NFL Players Association agreements, the financial agreements, so on and so forth. Right now, these spats are too public in regards to the Kaepernick protest issue, and they need to smooth this over very quickly because they're alienating a lot of their constituency. They're alienating a lot of their sponsors. All this about challenging people's manhood. Look, the so-called black man's manhood gets challenged every day. The black man's manhood gets challenged by the so-called black woman. It gets challenged by the so-called Caucasians. It gets challenged by outside stimuli from everywhere. Okay? The main thing that brothers need to do is concentrate on higher things, that being the Most High, and also trying to reinstill and reinvigorate a real culture so that we don't have to be dependent on other people for validity. Even Trump with his threats about tax breaks and things of that nature, if we were using real gold and silver, they would not be able to impact people with taxes to that degree. All right? These are things that people just they're not concentrating on because they're getting caught up too much in the racial talk paradigm.
Yes. And then can I just add this to clean this up real quick?
Yeah.
We're talking about, Jerry Jones, once you start affecting my bottom line, that's when we have a problem. But I think we do need to clean this up. There is a diverse set of people that have buying power and impact with their dollar.
Yes, that is true. And she's trying to imply once again the so-called black dollar. But let's be very, very clear. The vast majority of NFL fans are so-called Caucasians. They just are. Like, I watch the NFL, but I'm not saying, oh, man, I got to make sure I'm right in front of the TV when the game comes on. Like, I mean, look at the stadiums. Look what they're filled with. It's probably 95% Caucasians in these stadiums. It just is what it is.
Who aren't watching because of Colin Kaepernick not being in the league?
No, they're not watching because of the kneeling thing. It has nothing to do with Kaepernick not being in the league. The NFL ratings are not down by 30% because people are mad that Colin Kaepernick is not playing. They're upset by the constant racial paradigm that has been brought into the NFL.
Into it if you're addressing it correctly too.
100%. The goal is to agitate, disrupt, and inconvenience. So
yes, being an agent of chaos. Thank you, Michael Smith. Thank you, sir. It's known as the Hegelian dialectic.
So even though they want to move past this, maybe this is right where it needs to be, which people are actually being affected.
Yes, and your ass is so stupid. You don't understand that your company, ESPN, has a multi-billion-dollar deal with the NFL, and if they lose that contract, they're going to have to lay more people off. People like you, Michael Smith.
So we'll see how this whole thing plays out. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see how it plays out. They're going to have to find a way to come to terms with this, because if not, everybody is going to lose in regards to the entertainment industry known as the sports world. Okay? These people think that there's going to be a winner in this. There's not going to be a winner in this if this persists. Everybody's going to lose. Really, the only person who's going to win is going to be Trump, because it's going to cause a huge implosion in the NFL, and they're going to have to they're going to end up flushing out a lot of these players and bringing in new players who want to follow the game plan. Okay, please understand, these guys are expendable. I don't care how popular you think they are. They are expendable, and they will be replaced. You know. ESPN is losing a lot of money, billions of dollars they are losing because of their infatuation with liberal sports talk, intermixed with political jargon. People like Michael Smith think that he's doing people a favor. The reason why he's doing what he's doing is because he's another Twitter victim, just like Jemele Hill. People are stuck in the woke vortex. But anyway, we're going to continue this. All right, so now let's see what Skip and Shannon have to say about this issue.
Up next, Roger Goodell issued a letter to all 32 teams regarding the controversy surrounding protests during the national anthem. In the memo, Goodell says, after talking with teams and players, a plan has been discussed that will be outlined at the league meeting in New York next week. In the memo, Goodell said the current dispute over the national anthem is threatening to erode the unifying power of our game.
Which is something that I already said. This is something that the NFL must handle. There's an attempt utilizing the Hegelian dialectic to take down the NFL. The NFL is not or has not been an institution that has been answerable to mainstream media, which is predominantly liberal. The NFL has chosen to do whatever it's felt like doing without succumbing to outside pressure. So what they've done is they've brought pressure from the inside. All right, utilizing a Trojan horse, that Trojan horse being Kaepernick. Okay, Trojan horse methodology is to bring something within the walls of a city to make people think that it was something good, and then out comes the things that's meant to destroy it from the inside. You work to destroy something from the inside out. Okay, that's what's going on with the NFL right now. They have to nip this thing in the bud because it is about to be destroyed. And a lot of the people who think that they're doing something good, not necessarily that they're doing something bad or good, but they think that they're doing something good, it's going to destroy the whole thing for everybody. This is what I mean when I say people like Jemele Hill or Michael Smith or Shannon Sharpe, you guys make your money covering the NFL. I think that in their mind, they think that at the end of all this, if this is allowed to continue, that the NFL is just going to open up their arms and say, yes, black people, we love you so much. That's not going to be what's going to happen. If they continue to let this go, they're going to become a marginalized league, and they're no longer going to become a major talking point on these sports shows, which is going to lower the ratings of many of these sports debate shows.
Our game, and is now dividing us and our players from many fans across the country. Like many of our fans, we believe that everyone should stand for the national anthem. We want to honor our flag and our country, and our fans expect that of us. We also care deeply about our players and respect their opinions and concerns about critical social issues. The controversy over the anthem is a barrier to having honest conversations and making real progress on the underlying issues. We need to move past this controversy. Eagles safety Malcolm Jenkins, who has raised a fist during the national anthem, responded to Goodell's memo yesterday. Let's take a listen.
I think we've seen that even over the last year that you can take a player out of the league, you can threaten to do whatever you want to do. That's not going to deter players from doing what's right or doing what they believe is right.
No, what we've seen over the last year is that you guys have been emotionally triggered, very easily emotionally triggered, and there was an emotional detonation when Donald Trump said what he said. I think what we've seen is that most of you guys are not really mentally stable. You don't really know what you believe. Most of you are getting puppeted behind closed doors by the Black Lesbians Matter movement. You guys love to follow black lesbians because, you have no sense of real manhood other than, headbutting each other on a football field. And, you continue to get pawned. And the two main people who pawn black men are white men and black women. So you see, who are the two entities that are manipulating the so-called black men in the NFL? Donald Trump and the Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lesbians Matter movement. Okay? The paradigm doesn't change until the black man wants it to change. When you start dictating to other people how they're going to view you as opposed to allowing them to dictate to you how you view yourself, these problems are never going to change.
And so you might be able to change the manner in which that looks, but I don't see players stopping
begging for love and acceptance.
Their pursuit for,
for love and a hug.
Justice or equality.
Yeah, and exactly what is that again, Malcolm? Equality means what again? Hoping, praying that you'll get invited to live in an all-white neighborhood and they'll invite you over for pot roast, pot roast and carrots. Is that what you're looking for, bro?
Shannon, how will this play out?
The NFL's in for a battle, Skip. I think you and I both believe that. And if
I think that they're in for a battle as well, but it won't last long. It won't last long.
If I'm the players, I'm not giving in. And you know why I'm not giving in, Skip?
The reason why you're not giving in is because you're getting paid by Fox. You're not getting paid by the NFL, Shannon. You can get on TV. You can talk shit all day, brother. I remember when you played in the 90s. You were a great tight end, but you never made one comment. You never made one statement about race. Not one. All right? You can talk shit right now because they pay you to talk shit. And I like your shit talking too. But you can front all you want. I see right through your nonsense, brother. And I got love for you.
Skip, because if you give in on this, guess what? They're going to start demanding that all teams go to the White House. That's because once you start giving something, it's not how much someone will take, how much will you give? And you see, that's what we know about the NFL owners. See, the NFL owners and the players are in a very unique situation, Skip. The owners got to where they got by not backing down. The players got to where they got by not backing down.
Let me say this quickly. The owners got to where they got, being multi-billionaires, through a myriad of reasons. Some of them inherited the money. Some of them were very enterprising in their business ventures. The players got to where they got by believing in themselves, being great athletes, getting help from coaches. This is a venue, this battle that Shannon is trying to hype up, that is not really fair. This is going to be a battle over beliefs. And beliefs are oftentimes beliefs that are combative. These are battles that will oftentimes go on and on and on and on until one side's resources run out. And we know the side who has the lesser resources. Okay? So the reason why Shannon is talking is because he does not believe that the owners will lock out the players over this issue. We've seen in the past that when the owners decide to lock out the players over monetary issues, the players give in. Shannon is really hyped right now, and he would like you to believe, when I say you, I mean the viewing audience, that the NFL players are as ardent about, this Colin Kaepernick protest issue as he is. He would like people to believe that, this fire is growing in every NFL locker room of revolution and rebellion, but the revolution that he has in mind, as well as people like Michael Bennett and Malcolm Jenkins, is really the black liberal revolution of everybody hold hands, let's all hug and kiss each other. White man, please kiss me on the forehead. And also, by the way, I'm pro-homosexual rights and pro-feminism. So once again, this is a strategy that has been used a lot No, it really started back in the days of W.E.B. Du Bois, trying to pull blacks into these quote-unquote black movements, when really the intention is to get you to accept homosexuality and feminism and things of that nature. And they use people like Shannon Sharpe as a pawn, because that's what he is. Once again, he has a Caucasian fiance. W.E.B. Du Bois, we can go back to him. He was a homosexual. And by the way, his father was a Caucasian man. Right? He was one of the first people to start talking about how there were 100 million blacks put into slavery and all this other nonsense. Right? A lot of it started with him. You got guys like A. Philip Randolph, also allegedly a homosexual. Bayard Rustin, a confirmed homosexual. Martin Luther King, an alleged pansexual. And, arguably the Harvey Weinstein of his day. I'll leave it at that for now. But, a lot of these guys are degenerates. And we're up to today with Colin Kaepernick, who's also being controlled by his woman. And that's the mentality that many of these NFL players have. Once again, man, it's very simple. When you trace back the thought process of a lot of these globalist movements, it's normally about when you see them put a black man front and center, he's normally being controlled either by black females or the white man.
So you're on a collision course. This could have been handled so early.
I agree. It should have been handled by the owners in the offseason, but due to their hubris, they figured if they just got rid of Kaepernick, they wouldn't have to change any rules about people having to stand for the national anthem. And the reason why I would have been in favor of that is because I'm in favor of any measures that force the so-called black man to look inside of himself and seek out his own mastery and stop trying to force yourself on a Caucasian man.
But like a lot of people thought, the NFL owners and the commissioner thought this was a fad. They thought this thing was going to go away.
I agree with that.
See, the NFL is reactionary. This is what we know about them.
I agree.
They are very, very reactionary. They thought this would go away.
Well, it was in the process of going away until Donald Trump decided that he was going to utilize a strategy, what I call the inverse Simon Says, which is to tell the NFL players what they better not do. And of course, they did it. So now Donald Trump has created this situation, this scenario, where the NFL owners are going to be forced to bring this situation to its conclusion, which is what I believe Trump wants. I don't believe that he wanted this thing to keep going on and on and on and on, because Trump understands, as most people with common sense understand, that there is no such thing as equality. So this protest is never going to end. And in the meantime, it's selling, America's pastime, which is the NFL.
They also thought if we whiteball Colin Kaepernick, not let him back in the league, out of sight, out of mind. No. Skip, I find it very ironic. And I read this statement memo. I read it like 5 times.
Well, one of the main reasons why Colin Kaepernick was out of sight, out of mind is because he wouldn't do anything other than put out little quirky Twitter statements, normally co-signing somebody else. When is the last time that Colin Kaepernick made a statement, a real statement, where he wasn't co-signing somebody else's words or statements? I mean, I'm not even sure if he handles his own Twitter. I believe his woman, Ness Nitty, probably handles it.
424 words exactly. He mentioned flag once. He mentioned anthem 3 times. He mentioned country 5 times.
Oh, wow. Shannon good with them numbers, ain't he?
How many times did he mention one issue in which Colin Kaepernick took a knee for?
Question, Shannon. How many times did Colin Kaepernick state when he went down on one knee that he wanted NFL owners to solve his problems, or the problems that he alleged were afflicting the so-called black community? I'm trying to figure out, how did the issues that are plaguing the so-called black community become the problem of the NFL owners? Can somebody explain this to me? Never once did Colin Kaepernick, when he got down on one knee, stated, I'm going to get down on one knee until these multi-billionaire NFL owners solve all the problems in the so-called black community. He stated, I'm going to get down on one knee in protest of the flag because of what it represents or what it doesn't represent in regards to equal treatment here in America. That's what he stated. So Shannon Sharpe has become a victim of his own allegations, meaning he's lost track of what the so-called protest was about. But the reason why he's lost track of it is because it's better for his brand to grandstand against the NFL owners than to actually address the police departments, which is who Colin Kaepernick claims the protest was about.
How many times did he mention the reason why Malcolm Jenkins and Michael Bennett? Why is Malcolm Bennett sitting? Why?
Michael Bennett is sitting because he's crazy and deranged. That nigga's bugged out of his damn mind.
Why is Malcolm Jenkins still raising a fist?
Look, Malcolm Jenkins, I believe that he may be probably the most conscientious of any of these dudes, the most mentally stable of any of these dudes, but he also may be getting pawned out by the Black Lives Matter movement. It wouldn't shock me at all. He comes across as one of these liberal Negroes. He has the Omega Psi-Phi tattoos on his arm, so he's a worshiper of death. That's neither here nor there.
You see, the commissioner and the owners, we keep talking about these controversies, these underlying issues. But see, they don't want these actual issues tied to them.
Why should these issues be tied to them, Shannon? Are NFL owners running the police department?
I can't say anything about police brutality. I can't say anything about social injustice.
Injustice.
Because see, Skip, if I just read this, I'm like, okay, somebody's being very, very unpatriotic here. Why are they? I mean, I see flag, I see anthem, I see countries. So what's the problem? The problem is, Commissioner, is that while you talk about the flag and the country and patriotism, we want to hear you talk about the issue.
So now it's Roger Goodell's issue. Roger Goodell is supposed to get on TV and say, this is what we've done. I'm so sorry to all the black people out here for what I've done and for what the NFL has done to the black community. We've done so much. We're the reason why your women have aborted 15 million fetuses since 1973. We're the reason why you guys refuse to look at yourself as masters and kings and really just want me to kiss you on the forehead. I'm so sorry.
In which Colin Kaepernick led Colin Kaepernick to do what he did. We want to hear you say it. See, Skip, you can't go treat an addiction and says, okay, I'm here. Okay, what's your addiction? I'm here. You got to tell them what you're addicted to. Commissioner, we want to hear you say this police brutality. We want to hear you say this social injustice.
It's social injustice. I tell you, boy, Shannon is a monster that you pro-blacks on the internet have created. This is why you have to have checks and balances in regards to these talking heads, because they get so infatuated with their Twitter and their Snapchat and their Instagram messages. This is why he's running around now with a damn Black and Mouse cigarette in his mouth and a damn bottle of Hennessy. And this man doesn't smoke and doesn't drink, but he's promoting all that shit now. Why is that? Because he got silly niggas on the internet telling him how great he is.
We want to hear you say this.
And I like Shannon, okay? I like Shannon. But he was supposed to get castigated for that shit. That nonsense.
This inequality that's going on in America. Skip, you saw AP, the nurse that the police showed up in Utah and they tried to get the blood. It was a white nurse. Police officer was fired. He was fired for trying to get blood because she was assaulted. Do you kill a black man, woman, or child? You're not fired. You're put on paid and administrative leave. And if you so happen to be charged, you go to court and you get to walk home free.
Oh, that's absolutely true. That's why we need our own police force, bro. That's why we need our own police force, brother. You know, people can get on TV and they can talk about the injustices that are utilized by the police and how they're judged differently in the judicial system based off of what they do to so-called blacks as opposed to the Caucasian woman. That's why we need our own. Why do you keep looking to them to treat us better? At the end of the day, if they've been doing something for 400 years, as pro-blacks allege, it's time for us to do our own and get our own. Period.
This is what we're talking about. Skip, there's something that you mentioned too a lot. It's called the Fritz Pollard
Alliance, yep.
What does that do, Skip?
It oversees the Rooney Rule and tries to ensure equality in hiring in the National Football League, in hiring at the executive level and at the head coaching and assistant coaching level.
They had to put that into the league, the very league that Commissioner Goodell resides over. But so if you got to put that in there for them, what do you think is going on in a normal society, in normal everyday America? You see it, Commissioner. and see, Skip, although the owners and the NFL giving money would be.
Let me say this. They have the Fritz Pollard corollary, as Shannon noted. But what has that really done in regards to the promotion of many so-called black coaches? Most of them get the opportunity, but they don't get to stay around. Point being is that racism is not something that you can take out of the fabric of American society. And what you'll find in life is that people will respect you more when you stop looking for their acceptance. Yes, you're going to see more black coaches now because of these provisions, but they're not going to last. They'll be given 1 to 2 years to coach, and then they'll be eradicated. Point being is this: a lot of these different provisions are covers to get black people like Shannon Sharpe to stop complaining. What our people need is our own identity. This is why I use the term so-called black. A lot of people come on my videos and they say, why do you say so-called black and so-called white? Because, brother, black is not a race. Black is not a history. Black is not a culture. Black is not a landmass. Black is not a language. It's not any of those things. What the term black is a corporate designation. And when you use the term black, that means that you are directly connected at all times to people who are noted as being white. When you deal with people who come from different areas across the world, whether it be Fiji or Vanuatu or Ghana or Chad or Uganda, or, places where you have people who are, quote unquote, heavily melanated, they don't call themselves black. They say, I'm Ugandan, or I'm Nigerian, or I'm Ghanaian, or I'm Fijian, right? Why? Because those terms encapsulate a culture and a history. Our people don't have that. So as long as you continue to note yourself as black, you constantly are tied to the people who note themselves as white, because you can't have black without white, and you can't have white without black. This is what I mean when I say this relationship between the so-called black and so-called white man and woman in America is a very corrosive and destructive infatuation that each side has with each other. And it's predicated off of a total deculturalization of both parties, particularly the so-called black man who knows nothing about his history and is on a pursuit of self-knowledge, but he's going about it the wrong way because he's looking for the Caucasian man to give him back his history, and it's not going to happen. Right? He badly wants the Caucasian man to love him and accept him so that he can feel better about himself. Exhibit A being Shannon Sharpe, who talks all this race shit every day on TV, but he's with a white woman.
Would be commendable. I don't even want their money, because you can throw $2 million at a problem and hope it goes away. I want your influence. I want, when you try to get these stadiums built and you put pressure on these legislators, that's what I want you to do. When you want to get the Super Bowl to come to your city and you put pressure on people, that's what we want you to do.
Sure. What you want the white man to do is to stand up in front of a city legislature and say, look, I'm not going to do this until you look at black people as being good people. Now, how perverse does that sound? Don't you know so-called black people could do that themselves if our people had a culture and wanted to work together in regards to implementing real systemic culture that would bring order back to our people. We wouldn't need rich or affluent Caucasian men to do it. Like, how asinine does that sound? Woody Johnson is going to go into the New York State, the New York State House of Representatives and say, I'm not going to bring our football team up here to play the Buffalo Bills until you start to look at the black man as a good man. This is how bugged. That's why I call these niggas the black mafia, right? The pro-black mafia, because they're so asinine and they just say things that are just so ridiculous. As opposed to Shannon Sharpe saying, you know what? I'm not going to deal with a white woman because it's more important for me to be with a woman of color because of the image that it will put out to reinvigorate the so-called family unit, right? Not necessarily a so-called black woman, but just a woman of color at least. The man's with a damn Caucasian woman. But he's on TV talking all this balderdash. And then we'll try to throw in his homosexual and feminist empowerment shit in there because that's his real goal. All right? The so-called black man has been convinced through the liberal ideologies that his goals and his movements should be intrinsically linked with these other movements.
We want you to put pressure on the people that's in position, the lawmakers, the policymakers that enact how police officers interact with people of color in their communities. We want people held accountable. We don't want them to get paid leave when they're under investigation.
Yes, and we also need to hold accountable the conduct of a lot of these people in our community as well. Okay, we need to hold the women accountable who are running around sleeping with 5 and 6 different dudes and don't know who the baby daddy is. And people will say, well, that's a different conversation. Well, let me say this. When you have lawlessness within your own environment, that leads to the people who are supposed to uphold the law coming into your community and doing you dirty because they know that you have no standards for yourself. So of course, it's going to affect how they view you. All right. You have women out here, engaging in intercourse with 5, 6 different dudes, don't know who the baby daddy is. You got guys out here with 7, 8, quote unquote, baby mamas. Right. Selling drugs. Now they're trying to promote marijuana in the so-called black community. Weed to keep people bugged out they fucking mind. I know I'm going to have guys, oh no, when I smoke weed, I feel liberated. Bro, you don't even know how the fuck you feel. You don't. No, I've been around that shit my whole life. I ain't come across nobody high on weed who was sharp-minded. It is what it is. You can get offended. It's okay.
I mean, if Fox were to suspend me, I'm not getting paid. Why should a police officer get paid when he's under investigation? We want accountability. We want it fair. We want it equal. So, Commissioner Goodell, if you were serious, if you were really, really serious about wanting to help the players solve these issues that's in their community, you would have mentioned it at least once. At least one issue. You could have put it in one of these 421 words.
Because his job is to make sure that the money keeps flowing in, Shannon. I mentioned this in part 1 of this video. I guarantee you, Roger Goodell and many of these owners, they're getting all type of letters and emails from many of their multi-billion-dollar sponsors. The problem is people don't really understand. I'm sure there's people who are listening to this video who might be offended at certain things that I'm saying. A lot of people don't understand how this society is really run. This is a commercial society that we live in. The so-called black man is viewed as a stock option. Okay? This is why the so-called black man is not treated equally in regards to law enforcement. They want you in prison because you are a stock option. All people really in America are stock options, but they have different plans for different stocks. Just like somebody who is a stockbroker, there are different things that they do with different stocks or different bonds. The so-called black man is viewed as best as an entertainer or as a vassal in the prison system. That's why it's called the prison industrial complex. It is an industry. People like Shannon Sharpe don't really understand that because he's still on the quest to be validated by the Caucasian. So, point being is this. Roger Goodell and people like Jerry Jones, they are being contacted behind the scenes. They're not just coming out with these memos for no reason or these statements for no reason. So sometimes you have to think a little 3-dimensionally and understand why people say what they say.
But you worded it very carefully. You made sure the people that the most important thing to you, flag, country, and anthem. I mean, this is what I'm starting to see, Skip. It's no coincidence. You see the NFL logo is red, white, and blue. But I've noticed over the last 13, 14 months, they've added another color to the flag. It's red, white, blue, and green.
The NFL has always been about green, Shannon. If you just figured out in the last 14 months, well, maybe you're not as smart as I've given you credit for, bruh. As I've stated already, every transaction is commercial transaction. There's no emotionality involved.
Because that's the bottom line.
Always has.
That's the bottom
Always
line.
will be.
And you heard what Skip Bayless said. He said always has been, always will be. So Skip Bayless, once again, he falls back and he lets Shannon talk, but he knows a lot of it is foolishness.
And see, what's happening is these fans says, I'm not going to watch. Ratings dip. I'm not going to buy. So now this is the product. But if I'm the players, I'm not giving this up. Because if I give this up, you're going to start demanding more. Oh, you got to go to the White House. Oh, you got to do this. No. Use some of that influence that you use to get the things done that you want to get done, like these fancy new stadiums, like the Super Bowl, like the NFL draft. we want you to use some of that influence to help solve these issues.
Well, look, I'll say this. Some of the things that Shannon says are possible. They could possibly try to enforce players all going to the White House. But if players do have to go to the White House, then that would affect everybody, no matter what political affiliation. If they don't want to have to do that, then that should be collectively bargained. But that if they had a provision like that, then that would have affected many Caucasian players who did not want to go to the White House during the Obama administration. You know, this is the thing, and a lot of pro-blacks have to understand this, and liberal blacks. These things work both ways. You can't be so ardently against Donald Trump and then get mad when you have Caucasian players who didn't want to go see Obama. All right. This is why I lambasted the viability or the feasibility of this magical conversation to assuage all the antipathy between the so-called black race and the so-called white race is not going to happen. Okay. Shannon Sharpe is very mentally fractured by racial incidents that I'm sure occurred during his childhood and his teenage years or what have you. I feel sorry for him to a degree, but none of these things that he's trying to promote are going to heal him or anybody else. Not even a little bit.
And the policymaker, see, Dr. King couldn't solve any problem, but he agitated enough of the people that could.
Yes, he agitated it because, once again, he utilized the Hegelian dialectic. He was a pawn of the communists. He attended the communist training school. You could look that up. All right. He was there with Ralph Abernathy and what's her name, Rosa Parks, who also was a lesbian, by the way. And before that was married to a Caucasian man, by the way. Okay. When you do research on these people, they're all the same. They're all the same.
He did. And that's what these Malcolm Jenkins and Michael Bennett tried to do. They're trying to agitate enough of these owners. They say, okay, take your butt to Capitol Hill. Call President Trump. You got his number. He called you. Call him.
Now you got to the crux of the problem.
Oh, if I was the owner, I would say, here's Trump's number. You call him. Right, why are you trying to get me to call him for? You're a grown man. You call him. Right? Deal with him on a business level. Once again, the so-called black man keeps looking for the white man to solve his problems.
You want the NFL owners to start to put pressure on the lawmakers, but the man sitting in the most prominent seat in the world, certainly at the top of our country, President Trump,
he's not in the most prominent seat in the world. Okay, he's the Secretary of Finance for America. That's all he is.
Is exerting pressure backward onto the owners to shut these players down. Shut them up. Fire them. Right? If they protest. So, because you mentioned the Fritz Pollard Alliance, I'm going to bring up my friend John Wooten one more time. And I know a lot of our viewers don't know John Wooten, but he blocked for Jim Brown.
Yeah, and John Wooten also recently came out and issued a memo begging for Colin Kaepernick to come out and speak. I mentioned this before to you guys when I made videos a long time ago involving Jim Brown versus Colin Kaepernick. I stated, and I also stated subsequently to that with Ray Lewis. I stated that Ray Lewis was sent out to try to get Kaepernick to sign with the Ravens because that was the attempt by Jim Brown and John Wooten to bring Kaepernick out of hiding, to intercept him and find out who he's being manipulated by. Once again, when you go to the higher levels of this civil rights, of these little civil rights factions, these pro-black factions and various groups, they're all being bankrolled by somebody. Jim Brown and John Wooten wanted to know who is backing Kaepernick. That's why they sent out their pawn, Ray Lewis, their simpleton. All right, a lot of you pro-black dudes, you got all up in your feelings about Ray Lewis and all this bullshit about whether he prayed or kneeled. A lot of you guys are so damn silly. A lot of you pro-black dudes. And there's no disrespect to the intelligent brothers. There's a lot of intelligent brothers out there. But a lot of guys out there are real simple and they get all caught up in their feelings about silly shit. All Ray Lewis was a pawn who was sent out to try to intercept Kaepernick. His handler, Ness Nitty, anticipated it, and she sent out that inflammatory picture to stop it from happening. That's all that was. She's his handler. Anyway, John Wooten and Jim Brown are members of the same portion of the Boule. John Wooten, I believe, used to play offensive lineman for the Browns when Jim Brown was the running back. This whole thing is a big shit show.
I think the greatest running back ever historically for the Cleveland Browns. And John Wooten, I've known for 35, maybe almost 40 years, is a very proud black man. who has worked closely with commissioners of the league to try to get minority hires, and he's been, I think, very successful in that.
Correct.
And I talked to him yesterday, and he made one interesting statement to me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if I were talking to any of today's players, I would tell them to sit back and think before they act about what will I be able to tell my children, or more important, my grandchildren, about how I reacted to President Trump and this controversy now.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are going to make your legacy that you're going to have to live with the rest of your life.
Right.
So I slept on that, and I thought about it. And as you well know, I'm a lifelong fan of the Dallas Cowboys, whose owner has, boy, did he call out his players. Did he back them into the deepest corner you could back them into?
He did.
You will not kneel for the anthem, or you will not play.
Yes.
He didn't back them into no corner. He just let it be known what his protocol was going to be. You have a business. You have certain employees who work for you. There's certain things that you're going to tolerate, certain things that you're not going to tolerate. I don't know why they're trying to create this this atmosphere of, oh, well, he's being so disrespectful. He's actually telling his employees how he wants them to conduct themselves. No shit. Anybody who's had a job or worked in corporate America to some capacity, there's things that you're told you can do and that you cannot do.
Whew. Strong. He has challenged the hearts and the souls and the minds of these of his best players. Mm-hmm. So I start thinking, if I'm Des Bryant, if I'm Dak Prescott, if I'm Ezekiel Elliott, if I'm Tyron Smith, for that matter, if I'm Jason Witten or Sean Lee, what if they all get together, that core group of stars, and they say, you know what, we have to take a stand by not taking a stand. Mm-hmm. We have to kneel. So, again, this is going to be back where it all started in San Francisco. Not this Sunday because they're off.
Right.
But a week from Sunday, they're going to be back where it all started with one Colin Kaepernick.
Correct.
Who risked and sacrificed his job to make a national statement about police brutality.
No, he didn't risk anything. He was on his way out of the league any fucking way. He didn't risk shit. All he was a guy who was mad, being puppeted by his woman, who all of a sudden wanted to front like he was this big pro-black dude. All right, they had the man sitting behind Blaine Gabbert. Give me a fucking break. I had somebody in the comments say that Kaepernick refuted the notion that he was going to stand if he was allowed back in the NFL. That story was reported by ESPN back in March, that Kaepernick was going to stand if he was allowed back in the NFL. He did not refute it for months. All of a sudden, Trump made his statements about the NFL players being sons of bitches. They all decided to get on a knee. And then it was reiterated that Kaepernick would stand if he came back in the NFL. And then Kaepernick once again decided to tweet, and really he just quoted somebody else as usual because he doesn't have his own thoughts. Oh, a lie will get a halfway around the world before the truth is revealed. All this silly shit. And then his handler, Ness Nitty, came out and said Cap never said he wasn't going to kneel and all this. Why is that? Because they know that with all the momentum behind the kneeling protest, that he cannot come out and say that he will stand if he comes back in the NFL. It's not possible. His image has become too necessary in regards to what's going on in the promotion of discord. So this is what I mean when I call it a shit show. None of these people really know what to do. They're all really just playing it by ear.
And it worked. I'm going to say it again. Just from my perspective, it had national impact.
We're talking about it 14 months later.
We're still talking about it.
Yeah, all you're doing is talking. No laws have been changed. No provisions have been made. So it hasn't had an impact other than helping you in your news cycle and with your talking points.
But to me, especially the black players in the Cowboys, if they believe strongly enough.
You see what Skip did there? Especially the black players. In other words, you black guys, here's how you should think. Remember, Molly Karam did the same thing when she lambasted Cam Newton. She said, you didn't have the courage to stand with Kaepernick. We're in the era now where the non-black liberals are so bold that they will deem to come on TV and tell notice it's always black men who they're talking to. They never tell the black woman what to think or how to act. It's always the black man that they're trying to direct and tell how to think and how to conduct themselves. Brothers, man. They have no respect for you, okay? And they never will. And a lot of it is not even conscious. A lot of the disrespect for the so-called black man is so subconscious that most of these people don't even understand how much they disrespect the black man. You will never, ever see them come on TV and tell the so-called black woman how she's supposed to conduct herself. But they will always try to tell the so-called black man what he should be doing if he's really proud of being black, whatever the hell that means. Right? A title that they gave our people, black. So, basically, the NFL athletes are going to be demonized if they're going to be demonized by the liberal faction of Caucasians and non-blacks and liberal blacks as well if they decide to not kneel.
In their heritage, their culture, their mission.
This guy don't even know what the fuck he's saying. Ask Skip Bayless what the black heritage and what the black culture is. He doesn't know. Barbecue ribs. Braids, Air Jordans.
Their lot in life in this country. Then you know what? They should do what Malcolm Jenkins said. They should do what's right, and they should kneel in San Francisco. And
you see what he said? They should do what's right, quote unquote, and they should kneel. He didn't say that they should just do whatever they feel like is best for themselves. They said they should do what's right. They should kneel.
And I'm saying that as a Cowboy fan because it's going to threaten your ability to win that football game.
Correct.
Oh, please. You're a Cowboy fan who's given up on your season. So now the next best talking point, the next best news cycle topic is going to be the Cowboys kneeling and rebelling against Jerry Jones. That'll give you something to talk about for the rest of the season.
Correct.
Because you're going to put that owner in an extremely all-time awkward position sitting up in his owner's box.
He's talking about an individual player. You and I both know if 5 or 6, 7 of the starters were to take a knee, or 20 of, let's just say 25 of the black players take a knee, is he going to forfeit the game?
No, he's not going to forfeit the game, but it is going to reverberate with him financially. He is going to have to do something drastic. You better be careful when you play that I dare you game, when you play chicken with businessmen. But anyway, I'm going to continue this on part 3.